Please rise while the colors are posted. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for our opening prayer. Joel Abelov will lead us in prayer.
Almighty God, you who are the source of our life, strength, and purpose. In your presence alone we find help, hope, and life. Guide us during this hour of fellowship and reflection to be grounded with a healing reminder of your love to all whose lives we touch this day. For it is in your glory we gather and offer our prayers. Amen.
Amen. Please be seated. Good morning. I'm Peter K. Goebel, the Director of the Rensselaer County Veterans Service Agency. We have gathered here this morning to honor a deceased Rensselaer County veteran for the month of April, and that veteran is Earl W. Coons. We are honored to have with us this morning his family members, Earl A. Coons, his son John Coons couldn't be with us today, Catherine Coons, his daughter-in-law, Nancy Taylor, his daughter couldn't be with us today, Martin Coons, his son, Joyce Bendon, his daughter couldn't be here with us today. We have Michael Bendon, his great-nephew, Grace Coons, his granddaughter, Melissa Coons, his granddaughter, Carmela Germano Coons, his granddaughter-in-law, Buddy McAvoy, his nephew, and Sandra Nolan, his daughter, couldn't be with us today. I would also like to note that Margaret Coons, Earl's widow, passed away last week in Florida. But thank you all for being here. Also with us today to honor our Veteran of the Month are Congressman Paul Tonko, Congressman John Faso, former Congressman Michael McNulty, New York State Assemblyman John McDonald III, our Rensselaer County Executive Steve McLaughlin, Rensselaer County Legislative Vice Chairman Kelly Hoffman, Rensselaer County Legislative Deputy Minority Leader Ed Manny, Chairman of the Legislative Veterans Committee Jake Ashby, Rensselaer County District Attorney Joel Abelov, the Commander of the Watervliet Arsenal Colonel Joseph Morrow and Mr. John Schneider, Rensselaer County Legislators Mark Fleming, Tom Grant, and Vice Chairman for Finance Robert Loveridge. As we are all well aware, Memorial Day and Veterans Day are special days to remember all of our veterans. This program was created to help us honor our veterans all year round. To us here in Rensselaer County, every day is Veterans Day. The Rensselaer County Honor a Deceased Veteran program represents veterans organizations throughout the entire county. This includes members of the American Legion, Disabled American Veterans, Veterans of Lansingburg, Military Order of the Purple Heart, the Marine Corps League, Veterans of Foreign Wars, Korean War Veterans, Tri-County Council of Vietnam-era Veterans, Heroes at Home, Combat Veterans Motorcycle Association, and Vietnam Veterans of America. I will now ask Kelly Hoffman, Rensselaer County Legislative Vice Chairman, to come forward to tell us about our honored veteran for the month of April, Earl W. Coons.
Morning. So nice to see so many familiar faces here this morning. My name is Kelly Hoffman. I'm Vice Chair of the Rensselaer County Legislature. Thank you for joining us in honoring the life and service of Earl W. Coons. Earl was born on September 25th, 1914 in Troy, New York. Earl's parents, Earl and Mary Salisbury Coons, also had two daughters, Irma and Elizabeth, who grew up together in Lansingburg. Earl received his education in the Troy public school system and attended the Haskell School in Lansingburg. On February 16, 1941, Earl married Mary Gross, and together they had 7 children, 3 daughters, Joyce, Nancy, and Sandra, and 4 sons, Earl, Thomas, Martin, and John. Earl was supporting his growing family by driving a bus for the Troy Bus Company, and later United Traction Company. This company operated buses and electric trolleys in the area before it became part of CDTA. Earl served nearly 3 years and 4 months with the New York National Guard before entering into active service in the United States Army on April 16, 1943. During his service, Sergeant Coons participated in the Rome, Arno, and Southern France campaigns. Sergeant Coons flew 35 missions over dangerous enemy territory as an aerial engineer and gunner with the 15th Army Air Force B-24 Liberator Group of the 1010th Bombardment Unit. This unit targeted enemy industrial and communication installations in support of the Russian offensive and the Allied armies in Italy. The aerial attacks began in February of 1944 and continued through April 1945 and focused on aircraft factories, railroad bridges, and airdromes in Italy, Austria, and Romania. On June 1st, 1945, Technical Support Sergeant Earl W. Coons was honorably discharged from the United States Army. For his honorable service to his country, Technical Sergeant Coons was awarded the following: Distinguished Flying Cross, the Air Medal with 2 oak leaf clusters, the Army Good Conduct Medal, the European, African, Middle Eastern Campaign Medal with 2 bronze service stars, the World War II Victory Medal, and the Honorable Service Lapel Button. That is an impressive collection of awards. When Earl returned to civilian life, he started his own general contracting business to support his family. Sadly, Earl's wife Mary passed away, and sometime later, on July 5th, 1970, Earl married Margaret Jones Davis. Earl was a member of the Lansingburg Order of the Odd Fellows and the Troy Lodge of Elks prior to moving to Florida with Margaret in 1986. Sadly, on February 6, 1989, Earl passed away. Left to cherish his memory is his recently deceased wife, Margaret, his daughters, Joyce, Nancy, and Sandra, his sons, Earl, Martin, and John, his stepchildren, Alan, Linda, and Susan, and his sisters, Irma and Elizabeth. John was predeceased by his parents, Earl and Mary, and his son, Thomas. Earl is buried in Maplewood Cemetery on Plank Road in Pittstown. Earl W. Coons served his country with honor and bravery, and we are grateful to have his family for allowing us to honor him here today. And like I said, these ceremonies are very nice and quite touching, but when I get to see so many familiar faces here, Buddy McAvoy, my dear friend Carmela Germanario Coons and her husband John, who was his grandson, and to Commissioner Coons, he was his father-in-law. Thank you so much for allowing us to celebrate his life and his memory. Thank you.
I will now ask Congressman Paul Tonko to come forward.
Thank you, Peter, and thank you for your service to the veterans in the county. To my colleagues in government and to Mike McNulty, a thank you for paving the way for these ceremonies, which I think are a tremendous tribute to the heroes that have preceded us and who have built a nation that is envied around the world and is still continuing to serve as that beacon of hope for peace-loving and freedom-loving people around the world. The highlight of Earl W. Coons' life, shared with us by Kelly, speaks to a person who was committed to community. And I think it's so good that we do these programs, because it's important to know that people who came from our backgrounds and from our backyards, so to speak, donned the uniform and defended this nation and all for which she stands. And so this morning, it's a humble opportunity to be able to say thank you to a gentleman that I did not know, but who obviously gave his self in a very powerful way, in a selfless manner, with undeniable patriotism to serve this nation. And what you detect from what Kelly shared with us is that he was involved with public service by offering transportation opportunities to the people of the area, and then committing himself to the National Guard here in New York. And so love of country and love of community became very evident in his life pattern and in his commitments. The fact that he left at a tender age and left behind the comforts of home and familiarity of hometown, putting the nation first and foremost in his service, speaks volumes of who he is, who he was. And it's just a great, cherished memory to honor this individual who, as an aerial engineer and gunner, was given some great strategic assignments in the European theater to provide for the master plan of being victorious, and to recognize that he had earned so many powerful medals, including that of the World War II Victory Medal. Quite impressive that he offered himself so valiantly. And then to come back and live the American dream and start your own business and raise a family, it's just a powerful statement. So to all of his family members, including my buddy Carmela, everybody knows Carmela. We love her. So it is just great to say thank you in a very formalized way here, but understanding that he and so many of his comrades gave themselves in a very special way that labeled them a greatest generation. And we pay tribute to that member of the greatest generation this morning by saluting him. My friend and colleague, John Faso, and I ask that the flag be flown over the nation's capital in tribute to and in memory of Earl W. Coons for all that he provided to this nation. And with that, we say thank you and well done, great servant to this community, to the state, and to our nation. I'll present the flag to you now.
I will now ask Congressman John Faso to come forward.
Peter, thank you, and to the Coons family, this ceremony that Rensselaer County so wisely does every month is really a means by which the county and all of us can keep alive the memories of veterans. So few families today actually have a member in the military that it is vitally important that we remind our young people that freedom is not free, and that remembering the sacrifice of that greatest generation who went forth to defend freedom at a very grave time in the middle of the 20th century is so important. And to our veterans today, they are a living memory or a living example of the people that have come before them. And so on the shoulders of veterans like Earl Coons, we stand today, and our soldiers and veterans today stand as well in salute and tribute to his memory. May God bless him. May God bless America. Thank you so much.
I will now ask our Rensselaer County Executive, Steve McLaughlin, to come forward.
Thank you, Peter. Good morning, everybody. It's a honor to be here, as usual, every month with our colleagues and friends in government, both at the congressional level, the local level, the county legislature level, the assembly, the state level. We gather every month to honor a veteran, and every one of the stories is sort of the same and always unique, and this one is no different. When you hear about his life and being an aerial gunner, that's some serious service. And I flew airplanes for a long time, but nobody was shooting at me. So a lot tougher when you're sitting in the back having to fire back. So that is some very serious service, and they were throwing those airplanes together at a rapid rate, so they weren't the most solidly built things back then. But to come through that 35 missions is pretty incredible, and to come back, like so many of the greatest generation, to come back, take off that uniform, and just continue on with building a life. And with 7 kids, as I understand, your mom welcomed the break, because when he went away, there was already 3. When he came back, there was 4 more. So quite a family, seven kids. And to be in there at 27 years old and being the old guy in that unit, it's pretty incredible. I guess they called them pops, as I just learned. So, surrounded by a bunch of young kids, and he was the old man at 27 in that unit. So, incredible service to the country. We're honored to be able to honor him today. Thank you very much.
I will now ask Rensselaer County Legislative Veterans Committee Chairman Jake Ashby and the assembled county legislators to come forward.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Mr. County Executive, Congressman McNulty, Coons family. I just want to reiterate some of the points that I've heard today and really focus on this element of tradition that has been evident in public service. 7 children after you come back, and they all got involved. That's something to be proud about, and something I think we can all understand in this room, because we all value public service as well. And from my own experience, it's something that certainly helps when you return. Not only to have a supportive family, but to have an opportunity to give back. And on behalf of the Rensselaer County Legislature, we just want to say thank you very much. And take a look at the Hall of Heroes that we have outside, right around the corner in the building. We have a very proud tradition here in Rensselaer County. Thank you for coming out this morning, and it was an honor to hear this story.
if I may also, I'd like to point out that, not to take away from the recognition of Mr. Coons and the Coons family, but we have someone in our audience today who has served as a legislator with this body, who is a veteran, and also who was instrumental in putting together our Hall of Heroes. Tom Walsh is in the back of the room. Tom, thank you for your dedication and service.
Good job. Do you want to be called Colonel instead of Peter? No. You retired at Colonel, though, right? Yeah. Yeah, come on. Peter's fine. I just found out that Congress had passed a resolution that we could salute. And so I'm going to start saluting. I didn't know that. I just thought it was a Pledge of Allegiance. Yeah.
I will now ask New York State Assemblyman John McDonald III to come forward.
Well, thank you, Peter, and good morning, everybody. Of course, to our veterans, to our elected officials, but most importantly, the Coons family. And obviously, the state wants to be a part of this celebration, too, as well. And we want to thank you for giving us another opportunity to learn a little bit more about what I call everyday people that go out and serve our country. And what I found a little bit different than most in this situation is that he actually, he signed up and said, I want to serve the country before he actually enlisted. In other words, the interest of public service was there. I think that's important. Obviously, he was quite busy during his time, and more importantly, he's left behind a great family that has taken the time to recognize him today. So, on behalf of the New York State Assembly, I too have a citation which I'd like to present, and once again, thank you.
Tim Forbes from the Rensselaer County Honor Deceased Veteran Committee will present the committee plaque at this time. Will the committee members please stand?
On behalf of the Honor Deceased Veteran Committee, the Veterans here assembled, and all the people of Rensselaer County, we accept this plaque as a token of our appreciation for rural service. All the things that he did. A great picture of a fine young man, and we really do appreciate our honor. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Please stand for the closing prayer.
The day is done, gone the sun, from the lake, the hill, and the sky. All is well. God of compassion, dignity, and strength, watch over this veteran and his family. Bless him and grant his family comfort and everlasting peace. Amen.
Amen. Retire the colors. This concludes our Honor a Vet ceremony for this month. Thank you for coming to honor our deceased veteran for the month of April, Earl W. Coons. Please join us for our next Honor a Veteran ceremony scheduled for May 14th. Before we go our separate ways, we'll take a few family photos here. Then we will have the unveiling of 2017's annual plaque in the Hall of Heroes. Then we will reassemble at the county flagpole outside to raise the flag in Earl's memory. Thank you again.